Reporting on the games you love by people who love to game. The MMO Reporter Network.
MMO Reporter's PAX Prime coverage is brought to you by Dragon Fantasy, The Black Tome of Ice, a 16-bit styled JRPG coming soon on Steam, iOS, Android, 3DS, and Wii U. Hey everybody, Chris here from MMO Reporter, and I'm talking to Chad Moore. He is the creative director on Wildstar. We're just lucky enough to have a little bit of a presentation on what's coming up for the game. It's really exciting to see that Wildstar is moving free to play, because I think a lot of people, unjustly so, didn't give it its fair shake when it launched. I went in there, I was attuned, I was raiding, all that sort of stuff, and I really enjoyed it. But like many other players, I was drawn off to other things. There was some really great stuff that you talked about here. First, you started off talking about all the different currencies that we're going to have in game and what's coming up soon with all the beta tests. You mentioned about the N coins and how you're going to be trying to test that, and there's players are going to be able to buy some N coin in this next phase of beta tests, right?
So CBT Phase 2 starts on September 3rd. And what we are going to be doing with this phase of CBT is actually testing the sort of back-end systems, right, to make sure that, when players purchase Ncoin, that all of that sort of framework works. Hey, you purchase it, it goes to your account, and then you can spend it. So we'll encourage players to buy Ncoin. They will receive that same amount of Ncoin on their PTR account, so they can spend that in PTR, test the systems in there again. But when the game goes live, all of that Ncoin that they purchased is basically back in their accounts. They can then go spend that in the live game any way they want.
Awesome. And you're also, when you do launch, you're going to have the signature membership that people are going to be able to play. If players, like the game, they've been paying a subscription up till now, they're going to be able to keep doing that, but also get some bonuses in the game. What are those bonuses going to be?
So signature membership basically gives you access to some of our system's enhanced access. So you can create guilds if you're a signature member. You'll get additional slots for items on the auction house. You'll get additional character slots. You'll get increased rates for XP and reputation and those sorts of things. And then if you're a signature member, you also begin to accrue awards and points in what we call our cosmic reward system, which is our way of sort of rewarding players who have ever made a purchase in Wildstar. So if you bought a box or you paid a subscription since launch, you have accrued a bunch of cosmic points. And then you can spend those points on unique items, like mounts and pets and costumes. If you continue to purchase things while you're in Wildstar after the free-to-play launch, then you will also be accruing cosmic points every time you do that. There are 6 tiers to that program. All tiers have really unique items and cool stuff. So I think it's just a way to reward players who are engaging with Wildstar and buying things and adding to the economy. They're going to get cool stuff along the way.
Now, if people want to help that process along, you talked about in the presentation as well that things like using cred in-game will also increase that loyalty program. Will purchasing N-coins also add to your loyalty?
Yep, they will, absolutely. And just to your point about cred, we still have the cred system, but instead of cred giving you 30 days of free game time, it actually gives you 30 days of signature membership. And again, if you've purchased a cred with your in-game currency and you redeem that cred, you also earn cosmic points. So you don't always actually have to spend money to get access to the cosmic reward system. If you're just engaging and you're playing the game and earning your own currency and redeeming cred, you get that all for free.
Awesome. Now, the other thing that some people have done with some other games as well is they've had the ability to buy, if they really want to bump that up and I guess game the system in some ways, they've been able to buy other keys, other box copies of the game, apply them to their account, and then bump that loyalty program up. Are players able to do that as well with Wildstar?
Yep, every single one of those boxes that people have purchased for some of those promotional programs, they all count toward the system. So some people that have been buying a lot of copies of those are going to have a lot of cosmic points when they start the game.
Yeah. And players who have been in the closed beta test now, I know that you've got the system in there and that it was there. Is that accurate to where it's going to be? So if players are right now at tier 2 when they're in the closed beta test, is, other than the subscriptions between now and when you do launch free to play, is that about where it's going to be at launch?
Yeah, I mean, we've tried to figure out, like, if you've been a player who has been with us from the very beginning, they are going to be jumping right up to the first couple of tiers in the Cosby Reward Points just when the game starts. So I think a lot of players who've been playing with us from the beginning are going to be real happy about the stuff they can get right from the beginning. Yeah.
All right, and jumping into players who have, two last things that I want to talk about real quick here. We've talked about on the shows and videos before about the Proto Games dungeon starter and the way in which you've streamlined that dungeon system now. But you also mentioned in the demo that the first couple of dungeons that have been in there since the very launch, you've also streamlined that a little bit as well.
Yeah, I mean, so what we saw after launch and really up until this point is that lots of people really enjoyed playing our dungeon content, but the first dungeons that people got to, sometimes that was just a really stiff cliff for them to try to get to the top of.
The one thing that people mention consistently when I played that first dungeon with them was this first dungeon in the game was harder than the first raids that they've done in other games.
Right. So we put Proto Games Academy in there to smooth that out, teach players those mechanics, right? Interrupts, moments of opportunity. And then we also tweaked the difficulty of some of the early dungeons like Storm Talon's Lair and Kelvoreth. The mechanics are all the same, right? But they're just a little more forgiving. So players get in there, they get some success early, they understand the flow and what to expect from a Wildstar dungeon so that when they get to some of those higher level dungeons that they're ready for the challenge and they've been successful along the way.
And can I say for all the players out there, thank you for the holo crypts at the boss. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So the last thing I want to talk about, for players like myself who played a lot at launch, and got attuned, rated, all that sort of stuff, and now maybe other games have pulled them in other directions, life has just not let them play Wildstar as much as they wanted to. We're coming to the free-to-play launch now. What have you done to try and draw those players back in?
Well, we've made tons of improvements to the game. We totally revamped our character creation system. There's now videos for all of the classes and all the paths so that you really understand the choice that you're making at the beginning of the game. We overhauled both of the ArcShip experiences to make them a little more streamlined, get players in, teach them what's important, and then get them down to the surface of the planet. We actually, like we talked about, we made changes to the dungeon content and really lots of just quality of life improvements. Like we changed our sprint mechanic. We put a nav point system in the game. We have a sell junk button now, which is probably one of the most useful buttons in the game. What I would say for players who have not been with us, maybe since right around launch, come in, try the game out. It's completely different. We have really made what's great about Wildstar accessible to just about all of our players, and I think they're really going to enjoy what they see.
Well, thanks so much, Chad, for your time. Really appreciate it. It's always great to talk to you.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching the video, everybody. Don't forget to check out all the other podcasts at MMOreporter.com or by clicking on any of the links here. And please check out our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MMOreporter. Thanks, everyone, and see you in game.